Right, in section 2 here, we're going to be talking about isolating the variable in the fact that we're solving multi-step equations, meaning it's going to take more than one or two steps in order to solve this type of equation. Let's take a look at this first example. We have 3x plus 5 is equal to 11. And what we want to work this down to is so that we have the x isolated, get the x by itself. That means, and here's what I'm focusing on, in order to get that x by itself, right, I need to get rid of this 3 and I need to get rid of this 5. If I got rid of those two things, I would have my x by itself on the left side of the equal sign. That's what we're going to concentrate on. To do that, the first thing I'm going to do is cancel out the 5. Well, we talked about how to cancel out plus 5. It takes a minus 5 in order to do that. So that gives me the new equation 3x. Because the plus 5 and the minus 5 are going to cancel, what do I have left here? 3x equals what? Well, 11 minus 5 is 6. And then to continue on to get the x by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 3 so that the 3's cancel, and now I have x is equal to 2. So continuing on with number 1 here, it looks like I need to get rid of the 2 and I need to get rid of that minus 15. I'm going to start with the minus 15 first. If I can get that over to the other side, I can just then divide by 2. Well, let's do that. Let's cancel out minus 15. Always keep track of your equal sign. Always keep track of what's on both sides of the equal sign. Whatever you do to one side, you've got to do to the other. So we get the minus 15 and the plus 15 to cancel out, and I have 2x is equal to, now just do the math on the right side to get 24. Now all we have to do is divide both sides by 2 to cancel out that 2, and I get x is equal to 12. If at any time you feel like you might want to work ahead, go ahead and do that. And as I catch up with you, we'll go back and check to see how well you're doing. But don't be afraid to even pause the video or whatever that it takes in order for you to be successful here. All right, let's go on to number 2. We have 7m minus 17 is equal to 60. And again, I'm going to cancel out the minus 17 first by adding 17. Whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other. They cancel out, and you're left with 7m is equal to, so do the math on the right, you get 77. Dividing both sides by 7 to cancel that out, you get m is equal to 11. In number 3, again, I'm going to cancel out this plus 11 first. How do you cancel plus 11? Well, it takes minus 11. We're going to do that on both sides of the equal sign. We have x, and let's read this divided by negative 3. I don't like to use the word over when I'm talking about being specific here. And what operations do we have? We have x divided by negative 3 is equal to 29 divided by 11. 29 minus 11 is 18. Now be careful here, because a common mistake would be to think, well, it's just 18 divided by 3 is negative 6, and that's not the case. Show me your work. Show me how to undo, how to cancel divide by negative 3. Well, it takes times negative 3 in order to do that. The negative 3 here cancels out the negative 3 here. Well, whatever you do to on one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other. So we're going to multiply by negative 3. Actually, we get an answer of x is equal to negative 54. Now, keep in mind that this whole time, I want you to be thinking of the word cancel. What does it take to cancel out the numbers that are with the variable? You have 62 is equal to 2/3 n minus 14. My algebra teacher taught me just the other day that in order to cancel out all these numbers that are with the n, start with the number that's farthest away from the n. You know, in other words, you have 2/3 you have to cancel out, and you have the minus 14 to cancel out. He always taught me, start with the one that's farther away and cancel it out first. Don't worry about the 62. It's going to work itself out eventually. But of the 2/3 and the minus 14, which one is actually farther away from the n? Well, the 14 is, or the minus 14 is. So let's cancel that one first. That's the general rule of thumb, is you want to cancel the one that's farther away. So in canceling minus 14, we're going to do plus 14. Go to the other side of the equal sign and do plus 14. You get 76 is equal to 2/3 n. If you recall from our last session, how do you cancel out the fraction 2/3? Because now it's 2/3 times n. And again, I'm going to go back to this word, cancel. How can I cancel the times here? I'm going to multiply both sides by 3/2. Because if I use the reciprocal, 3 in the denominator is canceled out by the 3 in the numerator. The 2 in the denominator here is canceled out by the 2 in the numerator. And we're left with that n all by itself. We've now isolated it. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So we're going to multiply both sides by 3/2. And we get 1/14. Now, if you're looking at this in number 5, if you're looking at this minus x, and because of the minus sign, you're thinking plus, don't write this down yet. Think about what we were just talking about. If we look at the minus sign and decide to do plus 4 on both sides, think about this. What's 4 plus 4? Well, it's 8, right? Didn't cancel. So what we have to do is we have to cancel out a positive 4. How do you cancel a positive 4? That's right, by doing minus 4. Do that on both sides of the equal sign. Now these guys right here are going to cancel out. 4 minus 4 cancels. Here's your equal sign. 10 minus 4, 6. But what's equal to 6? When those guys cancel, you're left with negative x, or I should say the opposite of x, where the coefficient here is -1. And that's what we need to divide both sides by, is the coefficient, get x is equal to -6. In number 6, we need to get rid of the -5 and we need to get rid of the 3. If we could get rid of those two things, we'd have the x by itself. Start with the 3. It's divided by 3. How do you cancel divide? Well, multiply. So show me multiply both sides by 3. Here's your equal sign. We have -21 on the right side. What's on the left side? Well, the 3's cancel, you get x minus 5. How do you cancel the -5? Well, simply do plus 5, x equals -16. Number 7. Always clear parentheses. As we learned in Unit 1, we cannot do anything if there's parentheses in a problem using the distributive property. 3n minus 45 equals -21. Now I need to get rid of the 3 and the minus 45. We're going to add 45 to both sides. 3n is equal to 24. Divide both sides by 3. N is equal to 8. Number 8, combine like terms. 3.5x minus 1.5x is 2x. Bring down the plus 5 equals 8. Subtracting 5 from both sides. 2x equals 3. As you divide both sides by 2, leave it in fraction form. X is equal to 3/2. Well, again, we talked about this last unit also, and that is translating into an equation, or excuse me, last section. Unit 2, Section 1, we talked a little bit about translating story problems into equations, and the first thing you want to do here is find the equal sign, and that's going to be the phrase that contains the word is. So here we go, is equal to. Box that for me if you would, because that's your equal sign. Whatever comes before that phrase is going to be before the equal sign. Whatever comes after is going to be after the equal sign, so we know something's going to be equal to 16. All right, so now we're going to take this verbal phrase right here, 4 less than 5 times a number, and we're going to translate that into an algebraic expression. And again, if we looked at the number, let's call it n, 5 times that would be 5n. How would you write 4 less than that? Well, minus 4. And from here, we just add 4 to both sides. Write a new equation. We get 5n is equal to 20. dividing both sides by 5, and n is equal to 4. Always a good idea to check your work to make sure it is the correct answer. On story problems, 4 less than 5 times a number. Well, 5 times 4 is 24, and less than that is 16, and it does work out. Number 2 is the same as. There's your equal sign. So something is equal to negative 11. So we're going to take 3 times a number increased by 7. Well, here's our number. Let's call it n again. 3 times that would be 3n. Increased would be plus, and plus 7. So subtracting 7 from both sides first, I get 3n is equal to negative 18. Dividing both sides by 3, n is equal to negative 6. Number 3, twice the difference of a number and 6 is equivalent to 10 is equivalent to is your equal sign. So something is equal to 10. Twice the difference of a number and 6. Now these are starting to get a little bit more complicated the further along we go. You might want to use the same strategy my algebra teacher taught me. And I'm going to start at the end and just simply work my way backwards. The last thing I see is a 6. The and is either going to be times, divided, plus, or minus. Since we're talking about the difference of, the and is a minus, so keep working back. A number is going to be my n. The difference of, now whatever it is you've just written down, put it in parentheses. Because it says the difference of a number and 6 needs to go in parentheses. To show twice that, put a 2 in front of it. Clearing the parentheses using the distributive property, we have 2n minus 12 is equal to 10. Adding 12 to both sides, I'm going to get 2n is equal to 22. Dividing both sides by 2, n is equal to 11. And lastly, number 4. 7 minus twice a number is 31. Is the equal sign, so something is equal to 31. 7 minus twice a number. It is a positive 7, so we're going to subtract 7 from both sides. The negative goes with the 2. That's a negative 2n is equal to 24. Dividing both sides by negative 2, n is equal to negative 12. Good luck on your assignment. I'll see you next section.